married, you don't have kids, you don't own property, you probably don't have to worry about estate planning, right? Ooh, that's a big wrong. Joe Bert, the Oracle of Orlando, here to tell us why and talk about some of the other misconceptions about estate planning. Joe, good to see you.
Morning,
Good morning.
Good to be here.
Let's start with this. When it comes to estate planning, 18 and up, you think of a younger adult, no need to really plan an estate. They don't have much, but that's a big no-no.
It is a big no-no. In fact, they say 64% of the folks don't have any estate planning done. And the problem is, if you have not done estate planning, at the end of life, you've left a mess for those that are behind you. And it's not just passing on your assets. People think, I don't have much, I don't have to worry about this stuff. It really comes to end of life planning. Mom goes in the hospital, okay, they haven't done any planning. A couple of kids show up. One kid says, I want to do this. The other kid says, I want to do that. You've got a mess on your hands. So you need, as a minimum, what we call a healthcare surrogate form.
Oh, geez.
Where mom has appointed somebody to make those kinds of physical decisions.
Okay, what about if you're not married, you don't have kids, you don't have property? Again, same sort of situation?
That kind of stuff. Yeah, you have to worry about, if you don't have any property, then you have to worry about, okay, what's going to happen if I can't take care of myself? And once again, it's once you get to the hospital. So what you want to have is what they call a HIPAA release form as a minimum.
Okay.
Or a healthcare surrogate form. So this tells the doctors, the hospitals, who's in charge of this situation. Otherwise, you get the courts involved. Mom's in bed dying, and you've got the lawyers battling between each other. I mean, we've seen that here in Florida.
Yeah, and when it comes to it specifically, who ends up making those decisions if you don't have a will, if you don't have an inheritance, if you don't have anything, you just die, and does the state take over?
The estate takes over. It's called dying in the laws of intestacy. And the state of Florida has laws. If you don't have a will, the state of Florida will tell the survivor who gets what. So if you have a surviving spouse and the kids are of the marriage, the surviving spouse gets everything. It gets complicated, though, with second marriages today.
Yes.
If you have a surviving spouse and the kids are not of the surviving spouse's bloodline, the surviving spouse gets half and the surviving kids get half. So, and then if the kids aren't there, it passes by what's called per stirpes.
Oh, geez.
Now, that means if the kid isn't there, it's going to go to his or her bloodline, not their spouse, but their bloodline. So the state of Florida has strict rules as to who gets what if you haven't done any planning. And a lot of people think, I've done my will, I'm going to avoid probate.
Yeah.
Now, that's a huge misconception. Probate is nothing more than the instructions to the probate judge as to how your assets should be distributed. So if you don't have, if you have a will, it's going to tell the judge exactly what you do. A will is your ticket to the probate court. So people think, I have a will, I'm going to avoid probate. No, your will tells the probate judge as to how your assets should be distributed.
Very complicated. That's why people need you.
Well, they need an estate planning attorney. In fact, that's when I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm not an attorney. When it gets to this kind of stuff, you need to deal with an estate planning attorney. And I'm not crazy about this do-it-yourself online forms. The do-it-yourself, hit the button, fill in the blanks. The problem with that is you don't know how well it's been done until it comes time to use it. And if a comma's in the wrong place, a semicolon, a period in the wrong place, it could be totally different than what you want. And once again, you don't know how well it's been done until it comes time to use it. It's like a fire extinguisher. You get it all ready to go, you think it's going to work, and you go to use it, it doesn't work. Don't monkey around with that stuff.
Joe, good to see you. Where can people find you?
Once again, Google me, 2 words, Joe Bert, B-E-R-T.
That easy. All right, Joe. Thank you. Stay with us.